Good day, and welcome to the cover page from wherever in the world you are. I hope you're all doing well. In today's lesson, we will be looking at laboratory skills. Then we will zero in on ORR. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you can be informed whenever there is a new post. Objectives: to define the term lab, to outline the reasons for doing labs, to identify category of labs to be covered for the CSEC, CSEC biology, to discuss the expectation of one category of lab. What are laboratory exercises, or as they are called, labs? These are practical activities carried out by students to develop their practical skill in the subject area. Hence, if you have desires to study anything in science, it would be advised that you carry out some type of laboratory skills doing a subject that you can be exposed to a lab. Points of interest. The lab activity that's given to you by your teacher must be one that is supported by the syllabus. 2. While the guidelines for CSEC, CSEC is the same for all schools, the labs done by school might differ slightly. Hence, it is important that you follow the instructions of your teacher. 3. All pages in a lab book must be numbered, and the date when the lab was done must be recorded in the lab book. There should be an indentation to the left of all pages. This is used as feedback area for your teacher. The accepted unit of measurement is the SI unit. So for writing up any of your labs and you're going to be using any measurement, you must use the SI unit. And you would have seen some examples there: gram, liter, meter, etc. We have been doing well so far. Question: did you learn anything new? If you have, let us know in the comments. The big question: why do labs? The lab activity for any subject forms part of the final grade that will be used to determine your success in the exam. So if you're going to be passing the exam, it's very important that you try to score maximum marks for your laboratory exercise. Now for biology, physics, chemistry, and integrated science, your lab activities form 20% of your final grade. Now you must remember as well that you'll also be given a paper 1 and a paper 2 for each of these exams. Human and social biology, HSB, does not have a lab at this time. It cannot be overemphasized. The practical skills you will acquire through completion of these labs will help you to pursue further studies in science. question. The university requires students to have laboratory skills. Using your prior knowledge, suggest reasons for this request. Please share your answer with your teacher. The categories of lab to be covered for the CSEC CXC biology syllabus. They include observation, reporting, and recording. These are actually the skills, and that's abbreviated using ORR. Drawing, that's where you're going to be drawing, as it suggests, represented with. What comes to mind? What do you think we do when we carry out this lab? Now, this type of lab is considered to be the easiest of them all for most students. Students are coached to use their 5 senses to do observation. They must be able to record that information in a suitable manner and be able to give report from their records. So what happens during the stage of observation? Before we move on, it's very important to note that if no supervisor is available in your lab, do not attempt to carry out an experiment. So, while doing your observation, the 5 senses will be called upon. Remember, you'll be guided by your teacher. I see the color change from light green to blue-black. That's the eyes at work. I hear the anger is a real source of noise pollution. And the anger is pretty much that area where you would find aircrafts. I feeling. The temperature today is 31 degrees Celsius. Yesterday, it was 27. If you observe here, we're using an equipment to assist with the observation. I smell. The scent in this area suggests there is a gas leak. Now, can you imagine there's a gas leak and we were not aware because we were not observing, and then comes some fire? If there's any better reason to understand why observation is important, you let me know. I taste. The food is salt. Now, let it not be said that you'll be tasting anything in the lab unless you're doing food and nutrition. Do not taste anything in the lab. Remember, there are several equipment that can help with your observation. And here we have listed 3. You could name them for me. The first is thermometer. Second is the ruler. Third, scale, or one might say balance. Wonderful. Look at our activity. What do you think about it? Now, for this activity, I want you to do it in your books, and we are going to discuss it when we have our next session online. Recording. Recording suggests the format you will use to document the lab. Recording events is a very important part of our everyday life. However, we are guided by specific approach when writing up labs. The records could be done using any or a combination of the following. Prose. You could record your lab using prose. We are going to talk about that in a bit. You could record your lab in a table, as is done with a food test. You could record your lab using a graph. Or you might very well draw a picture map to show what's happening on the outside. So remember, recording aspect of the ORR is what format you're going to use to represent the data. Will it be a prose? Will it be a table? Will it be a graph? Now we are going to be looking at tables, graph, and drawing in other lessons to come. We're going to be looking, however, at prose in this lesson. Prose. Pretty much it's the usual writing up of a lab. Some might choose to write it in paragraph, others might write it in bulleted steps or numbered step. Where this method is used, it is very, very important that proper tense is used under each heading. The report must be done in sequence to capture the events as they unfold. When we talk about sequence, we are talking about 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a sequence. All right? So a sequence, remember, you are going to follow a straight path, or it could be a curved path, of course, but you are going to ensure that you doesn't skip, that a step is not skipped. The headings are to be underlined. That's the headings in the lab book. They are supposed to be underlined. A space must be left to the left of a content for the teacher's report. Make sure you pay attention to your English. It is wise to ask someone to read over that work you have done. Here we have another activity, and we are going to ask you again to write it in your books. So remember, let's go over what we've done so far. Observation is pretty much that which you will detect using your senses, all 5. Prose is the way we are going to be writing up the lab, reporting the lab. Prose is the way we are going to be. Let's go back. We are going to be recording the lab. Very good. Now we're going to be moving on to another very interesting fact. It requires that the procedure be written in past tense. Once you're writing up a ORR lab, the procedure must be written in past tense. Here we have an example. And I filled a pot with water. Then he placed it on the stove. He then lit the match, turned on the stove, and started the fire under the pot. Now that is a clear sequence as to how an I would hot some water on the stove. Reporting. There is a special format outline as to how labs are reported. The procedure for all labs except planning and design is written in past tense. Labs except planning and design, implementation, and drawing usually take the following sequence. They are usually outlined as is shown on your screen. So you must record the date the lab was done. It is wise that you write the title for the lab, and this suggests where in your textbook the lab is from. And what, to be exact, if you are doing photosynthesis, if you are testing a leaf for starch, then your title there would have been photosynthesis. Some persons might write testing the leaf for starch, but more appropriately it would have been photosynthesis for the title. Now your skill, of course, in this case would have been ORR. Now your aim is going to be that which you intend to find out. Your apparatus and material. A lot of students become confused with these two words. Apparatus refers to those things in the lab that are reused or can be reused. Your beaker, your spatula, your Bunsen burner, and the list goes on and on. While material refer to those things in the lab when we carry out an experiment, they are not reused, we throw them away. Please make a list for your teacher and tell me how well you fared off. Procedure. Procedure tells how the lab was done in this case. Remember, it's written in past tense, so it's going to tell what happened. How did you execute? Then usually there is a diagram below your procedure, and the diagram pretty much gives a pictorial representation of a setup for the lab. Then comes your observation. What did you see? What did you detect? What is it that you determine based on your 5 senses happened? Were there any changes? You are going to record it here. And then come, for some labs, some teachers might differ, the discussion, where, as it suggests, you are going to discuss. Try to suggest, using scientific fact, why things are the way they are. And then finally, your conclusion. Based on your observation, you should be able to reach a conclusion that answers the aim. What is it that you intended to do? I suggest, at your leisure, you go through this presentation again, and you go through this presentation again so that you become familiar with the requirements. Your teacher may decide not to use all the headings as we have listed above. So your teacher might not use all these headings. Your teacher is well trained, would have known what is expected of the syllabus, so they might not use all the headings as are outlined here. Remember, your teacher is your guide. So we're pretty much at the end of this lesson. It was wonderful having you here with me today. In our next class, we will be looking at an actual lab. We're going to be doing a lab, a ORR lab. To be specific, we're going to be looking at testing a leaf for starch. And then we're going to be looking at the skill MM. Now your homework is on screen. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, click the notification bell, and most of all, leave a comment. Please continue to enjoy your day and study to show thyself approved. Goodbye.